What's all this? Is all the mic just the boxes or what?
Yeah, this is some stuff I was using at the other studio. Um, the orange box, that's where the cameras came in. That's an extra mic, some headphones if we need them. But for you people tuning in, this is the channel. This channel, this podcast is all ears in conjunction with my other channel where you will find the stories. House of Remember. My guest today is Seda. Hello.
Hello.
How you been?
No, not too bad. How about you?
I've been good.
You're looking fresh today.
A little bit.
Little pink
Wearing
salmon.
my
action.
spring. We just watched the story. Amber Kouba. Go to my channel. You will see Amber's story. Well, Seda just watched the story. I was there. Any thoughts on her story? Well, let me tell everyone before they get into it. Amber is a lesbian. Shout out to the LBG. She was dating someone who was married. She was dating a woman who was married with a husband and kids. And the woman kept basically low key stringing her along, saying that she would divorce and be with her. But normally that's not usually the case. And she's basically, yeah, that's what her story was. And then she gets into more detail, obviously, but the story was wild. And Seda just watched the story right now. As a woman. What'd you think of that?
I have so many questions. So many questions. Oh my god. You could see the sadness and in her and how in love she still is and how blind she was to all of it. But what was really sad about the whole thing is that she just kind of kept blaming herself for what happened, right? Mm-hmm. Like she was taking ownership for something someone else did to her.
Right.
So I thought that was really interesting. I think she's trying to process it all and just try to figure out what the heck happened. Like right. How could I fall for this? How could I believe in this? Like this must be me, which is just heartbreaking to see.
Yeah, and I know her. I've hung out with her many times. We actually all together on Thanksgiving too. She's a friend of a friend. And you know what? When I saw her story, what I thought was crazy about the story is she's tough. That girl is a hard ass. Like she don't take no shit from no one. So when I sat there and I heard the story, I was like, whoa, like who the hell was the girl she was dating?
Well, that explains why she's so tough on herself right now, right? Like why she's so hard on herself and blames herself for it. Because people who are strong usually feel like I don't fall for those things. No one can trip me up. But that's the thing about love is that sometimes it just makes you blind to a lot of things and lies and deceit. And the interesting thing is it's happening in the LGBTQ community as somebody who's an ally, right, in dating men. It's like that shit happens every day. Can I say that? Can I say shit? Yeah. Is that okay? Okay.
We say whatever the hell we want on this channel.
It's the way of the world, and dating has become so complicated, especially with the apps and everything else going on, that you can just hide behind a screen, you can hide behind a phone, you can do all these things, and people get the satisfaction of being wanted and needed and desired by others that they're willing to put anyone's emotions and feelings at risk,
Yeah, that story, I think anybody who knows her, we were definitely not expecting that story. Like I said, I've been around her a lot. That girl don't take no shit from nobody. I remember when we first met, it was 4th of July. It was was that 2021 4th of July? She was roasting the hell out of my ass. We were all at this pool and everything. I had just met her that day. She was roasting the hell out of my ass. And I remember looking at my friend, I'm like, who the fuck is she? So me and her were going back and forth all day.
So what else do you know about the story? How did they meet? Is there any background on how, this came about?
Again, she didn't go into too much detail, because you don't have much time on the channel. Yeah. But I had never heard I had never heard that story about her. I don't even think my friend who knows her, I don't think she even knew that whole story. Cause like, even like looking at her, the look on her face was like, oh, when did this? You know what I mean? Like, when the hell did this all go down?
It seemed like it was somewhat new, or it just felt kind of fresh. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The pain, definitely. But who knows? It could be years.
You know, with that story, that always shocks me. Like her story, because I'm like, it's usually men doing that. It's usually men who are saying, "Oh, I'm gonna leave my wife. You know, just let my kids get a little, a little older." Or, "Oh, I swear I'm gonna file." You see that all the time. I don't think I've ever seen a story where it was two women being lesbian. One apparently low key lesbian, and married to a man and telling someone she's gonna leave her man.
Yeah.
Because that story is always with men. Men always do that. I've never seen a woman do that, at least personally.
Do you think it has to do with her like trying to figure out if she's gay and like just trying to process all that? Like she's exploring outside of her marriage secretly without anybody knowing and not willing to put her marriage at risk while doing that. I mean, there's been so many instances of people, right, being straight, being married, having kids, and then eventually becoming gay because that's just who they were all along, and they were just hiding from it.
I had a situation like that.
Really?
Yeah. God, when was this? I think I was like, when this happened, I think I was like 23. 23, yeah, I was like 23, 22, 23. And I met this girl, we were, I had to be like 22. This is right during college. And, when you're in college, everyone catches the bus to campus. So, no one's driving to campus.
Right.
And I don't know how me and her started talking one day. We were both headed to university. I don't know. We talking, exchanged numbers. So I think we linked up like that same weekend. Went out, had drinks, had fun. We hung out like that whole weekend. Then like 3 weeks in, we're still hanging out, staying at her place, having fun. And we got this huge club in my city. Oh, it's gone now, but it was called Cream. And anyone who's listening right now from Minnesota knows exactly the club I'm talking about. It was huge. So look, Cream was open on Sundays. That's their day, Sunday nights.
Oh, interesting.
Which is a weird night, and then the whole city still shows up. They don't give a damn. Okay. I was with this girl all Saturday, and I left her house Sunday morning. Later on that night, me and my guys, like 7 of us, we're up in Cream. Then I see her. She's with probably like 5 girls.
Give me anxiety. What happened?
And I see her, and I'm like, my chick just walked in here, and they're coming towards us, and I see her, and I give her a big hug. I said, "What's up?" And she goes, "Hey," and she just kept walking. I'm like, "Is she drunk? Like, what the hell was that?" Like, that's literally all she said. "Oh, hey," in this huge group of girls, and they head upstairs. Then I see her again. Like, the club was packed. It was like club held like 5. I don't know. The club probably held like 600 people. It was huge. I see her again, like maybe like an hour later, and I look at her. I said, "What's up? What's going on?" "Oh, hey, we'll talk later." And she walks her in that pack she was with walks off later. So I'm like, this bitch. So after the club, it's like 2:30. That club let out at 2, but like no one leaves till like 2:30. So like 2:30 comes around, she is blowing my phone up. I'm not picking up, and she's texting, "Where you at? Where you at?"
She got caught.
She's like, "Come on, come to my place." And I'm like, "No, I'm good." And she's like, "No, please come to my place right now." So I go over there, and I'm like, "What the fuck was going on with you tonight?" And that was her girlfriend. I didn't even know she was lesbian. What? I was like, I don't know why that didn't even cross my mind when I saw her. Maybe it's the club, you're not thinking right. That did not cross my mind.
Well,
I said, "That's your girlfriend?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, How long they've been together like 2 years. I said, "That's your girlfriend?" Yeah. I'm like, "What the hell we been doing for like 3 weeks?" You know what the hell we've been doing for like 3 weeks? It was so that situation was so crazy. It was so crazy. It didn't even cross my mind that was her girlfriend that night.
Honestly,
So when I listened to Amber's story, I'm like, I remember that's my only it's my only situation I ran into like that.
I think it just happens in every situation.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what your sexuality is. People are just lying constantly. It's crazy. That's interesting.
Forgot about that story.
I don't even know how you would, like, think she's a lesbian in that club. Like, she's out with her girls. Like, you never.
Because even her girlfriend, super pretty too. Even her girlfriend, she wasn't butch. She didn't.
You're like, she can come too.
Her girlfriend looked like she gonna kill my ass. But she wasn't like, the girlfriend wasn't like butch, looked like a man. No, they were in like beautiful. Feminine. They were in beautiful dresses, heels. I looked like someone's birthday. Yeah. She's like, yeah, that's my girlfriend. I was like, what? Because for like 3 weeks, this girl has literally been with me like.
So she was bisexual? Did she say?
Yeah, she's bisexual, but she's been with just this girl.
Were they like in an open relationship?
No.
They weren't. So she was. Just
that was closed relationship.
On the side.
Yeah.
A little fun.
And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, do y'all not hang out on the weekends? Like, this chick's been at my house.
You were the side piece?
Yeah, I was the side piece. I was the side Pierre. I was that Reese's cup on the side. But I kept thinking, I'm like, when the hell do y'all? I'm thinking in my head, like, do you two not hang out on the weekends? Because this girl was with me all weekend, like for like 3 weekends in a row. Yeah. At my place, I'm at her place, and yeah.
The girlfriend had something going on, probably. Wow, interesting. But Amber's story is a little bit different than that. Yeah. Like, it's really complicated and has so many nuances to it. Oh my God, I have so many questions. It's like, does the husband know what happened? Did they get divorced? What's, like, what happened with that? And how long ago was it? She's still clearly hurt. And has she moved on? Like, I'd want to talk to her. Just find out.
I know. I might have to.
You need a recap. Like,
I'm gonna write down some questions for you.
Follow up. Tell her I want to interview her because now I'm invested in the story. And need to know where it went.
Now I gotta have to bring her back, but. Yeah, that story with Amber, I was like, Jesus Christ. Like I said, she's so mentally tough. I was like, who the hell did this to her? Yeah. I must meet this woman.
I actually have a friend who had something, not the same thing with a guy, but she was dating a guy for long distance for like 6 months. Things were really heated, and she ended up getting pregnant. And at that time, things were getting kind of awkward. He wanted kids. She didn't want kids. There was an abortion that was part of like that conversation. And she was dating this guy. And then he wasn't like fully on board with the abortion. Mm-hmm. So they were going back and forth, but they agreed, right? Her body, her choice. She's going to do what she wants. And then he just ghosted her. He just fell off the face of the earth.
This is after the abortion?
During,
really,
before, and after. So he just disappeared.
Even though
nowhere to be found.
Even though he was against the abortion, he don't even know if she had the baby or not.
He has no idea. I mean, he knew that she was gonna have the abortion, right? So
she made up her mind.
She was clear, yeah. And afterwards, I remember talking to her, and obviously it was like a really, really painful time in her life, right? And she just kept saying like, I don't trust myself anymore, and the ability, kind of like Amber was saying, right, to assess and be able to judge like people and know to not be in like unsafe situations or to not be used and taken advantage of. Like, she just didn't have confidence in herself for a long time and really, really blamed herself for it. And it's just like, again, it's the same thing. It's like so heartbreaking to see someone experiencing that because it is not about you at all. Yeah. It's about that person and how broken they are and whatever they were going through. And, like Amber said, like, oh, well, she was going through a transition. Like, I don't know if she was going through a transition. I think she was just being selfish, trying to figure out her life and, like, what was going on. And she has no regard for her emotions and feelings and what was happening.
So your friend, she never heard from the guy again?
So she did hear from the guy long, like a year after, maybe.
Whoa.
6 months, year, something like that, and he was like, I'm really sorry.
He popped up?
Yeah.
He probably checking in to see if there was a baby in the background screaming.
What if she's a little backwards?
That's what men usually take off. They're like, "Oh, you gonna have the baby? Yeah. All right. Well,
Bye.
I'm gonna head home for a little bit." 2 years later. 2 years later. Oh man. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's crazy.
Craziness.
So they talking now?
No.
Oh,
She's good. It's been, I don't even know. It's been a few years, I think. She's, back to normal. She's dating somebody else. She's happy. She's good. Like you heal from it, right? Therapy.
Right.
Amber, therapy.
Yeah.
It's good for you. Gotta utilize that, it's like exercising the body. It's exercising the mind, and the hurt just stays there the more you like dwell on it. So it's good to go out and talk to somebody who's completely neutral, doesn't know any of the people, helps you learn coping mechanisms so you can work through that, because that shit's heavy. It's really heavy. There's so many things, like just not feeling good enough, not feeling loved, not feeling abandoned, feeling stupid. Like there's just so many things, and again, it's all irrational, right? If you think about it. But hopefully she gets some help.
You remember that old story? Remember Amy Fisher in the '90s? God, that used to be such a big story. It was in the '90s, like mid '90s. It was like a politician. I think I'm almost positive the guy was a politician. That's why the story was so big. He was a politician, and he was dating this young girl named Amy Fisher. I think she was like, she was young. She had to be like 18. I think she was like 19, 20. And he kept saying, I'm going to leave my wife, blah, blah, blah. And one day when he was gone, Amy showed up to the house, rang the doorbell. His wife answered the door. Amy shot the wife and killed her right there. That was for you youngins out there, or anyone who forgot, Google Amy Fisher, because that ended up being a huge joke in like so many TV shows, so many movies, or it would end up being like a spoof, someone ringing the doorbell and you answer, boom. But yeah, that was a huge case in the '90s. Yeah, Amy Fisher. I remember growing up hearing nothing. It was huge. Like they've done documentaries on that.
That's crazy. Can you imagine this psychology like you have to be in that moment to go and kill somebody's wife?
Yeah.
Or girlfriend.
And she probably didn't even know the wife was gonna answer the door. She was gonna kill whoever answered that door to get to the wife. Wow. But yeah, that was a huge story. That's how he got caught. They found out he was even cheating. Yeah, she just literally walked up to his house, rang the doorbell. And
why do you think people cheat?
Greedy. And some people, like married people, they're probably in one of them relationships where it's just stagnant. Then they probably run into someone who's fun and they're all rejuvenated. And they don't want to get divorced because they probably got kids. And most men most men who were cheating and they say, "Oh, I'm gonna leave my wife. They're not gonna leave the wife because they know they're gonna leave half their money and their assets.
Right.
That's why most men
end up staying.
You win 100%, especially in California. When a man always says, "I'm gonna leave my wife," no, you're not, because you leave your wife, you're gonna leave half your money and half your assets, and you know that for a fact. For a man to leave his wife and assets, he's gonna have to be leaving her for like Beyonce. He's gonna have to be leaving her for
unpopular opinion.
He's gonna have to be leaving. He's gonna have to be leaving her for B, Rihanna, Britney.
Oh, Britney.
He ain't leaving her for someone who's broke. I'll tell you that. He's gonna leave her for someone who can give him that other half back.
For sure, especially if you have a lot of money, like you know, that you worked for. You don't want to give up half of that, right? I had a neighbor like this actually. So they were married. Her husband was really rich. He had his own company, and she was, they started a company together or whatever, and they absolutely hated each other. So they lived separately. Like he lived in the OC area, and she lived here, and he gave her part of the money, and they lived happily ever after. Never have to see each other, really. Yeah. It was great. I think I'd be okay with that.
When I first moved to California, I worked up in Oceanside, and it was funny. There was this guy I worked with. He had retired, but he used to still come up to the company all the time. So like all the older men knew him. He was only probably late 40s. And I remember I was like, "Oh, who is that?" And they're like, "Oh, this is so and so. He worked here for like 15 years, and he went on to another company. But now he's retired." And I was like, "Oh, he lives down the street. He has a condo down the street." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Oh, he's probably doing well." And they goes, "No, not exactly." They said he lost 3 homes to 3 different ex-wives, and here he is now engaged again, right now, like during that time. I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah." They're like, "We have told him 1,000 times, stop getting married at this point." They said he had, and you know how hard anyone who lives in California knows buying a house is a big deal out here.
Yeah.
Because that little $200,000 home in the Midwest or the South, that house is 900,000 here. Period.
Yeah.
You know, like my uncle bought a house that's like, I think he told me he paid 300K for it like 3 years ago. That house out here, it's fully brick too. Man, that house is $1 million out here.
Yeah, at least.
But this guy lost 3 houses. He was married 3 different times, and in all 3 divorces, he lost a house. And now here he is, like 50, and he's living in like a little 2-bedroom condo down the street. I'm just like,
Yeah, I mean,
that's insane.
that's tough, right?
That's
Like,
hella tough.
so do you not, like, what do you do? What if you meet like the person that you think is the love of your life? You just hold off because you don't want to lose money. Like, what do you do? That's a tough situation to be in.
After he lost that first house, because I'm sure it probably took him a lot to, you know what I mean, to get that house. He wasn't like balling.
Well, he was really rich.
He wasn't. After losing that first home and probably had to pay alimony, like, dude, at that point, next wife, put a contract in place and seriously, and protect yourself. Prenup.
For
Like,
sure.
put a contract in there. You know, it's all kind of little workarounds for prenups. You can be like, you don't touch the house, but you can have this, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, the things that we earn together
Yeah.
is fine.
This
But
dude
everything
lost
else
3 houses in California. I'm like, I'm sure he lost. Like, it probably took him forever to buy that first house. Lost it. Probably took him years to build back up. Buy the second one. Lost it, and took years again. Because imagine on your way to like the third house, you're still paying alimony.
I can't imagine wanting to get married 4 times. Like, that's just
insane.
insane to me. Because I mean,
kids either.
yeah, that's crazy. Being a product of a divorced family, right? That shit's painful. It's hard on everybody.
Yeah.
Can't imagine, like, and then you got the financials of it aside from all that. Like, can't imagine repeating. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Love is a crazy drug.
Mm-hmm.
People do insane things. I think there's people like me who are like too realistic, and they're like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are just that go head first into things. I don't know what's the right approach here, but I just can't see doing that 4 different times,
That's insane.
or even twice, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, like, just live together and like enjoy it. For me personally, if I were to get married, I'd do a prenup anyways. I think everyone should do it.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to be like, if we have a conflict, here's how we're gonna handle it.
Instead of fighting.
Instead of it getting ugly, yeah.
Lawyers and.
Yeah, exactly. And that way you know. But a lot of people, I think, take that as like, you don't trust me, you don't think we have a future,
Right.
you don't like. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's just a matter of like, I actually care about you enough to not have, allow things to get really ugly, if and when that comes.
Right.
Like, if it comes to that, right?
He was like a bodybuilder in like 80s and 90s.
Mm.
His bodybuilding girlfriend at the time, she killed herself. Yeah, they told me a wild story about this guy. I'm like, what? I'm like, this guy.
He's been through hell.
He's been through hell. You lost, and I looked up the story. It's so crazy. You can actually like look it up. I looked up the story and I saw her, beautiful girl, and even him, he looked great back then. He was fucking solid. But I'm like, dude, to be in his 50s and you've lost all that, like, I'm like, that's exhausting. People out here in California spend like God knows how long to buy one house.
Yeah.
You have lost 3 and you had to pay 3 wives. That's no.
Wild.
No. I'm like, what? I have a friend like that back in Minnesota. Their mom was like that. She was married, I think she's on her 4th husband right now. Like, no. That's tiring. And she had like big weddings. She didn't have like, oh, let's run to Vegas or let's just go get a little.
Yeah.
She had like weddings.
That's even crazy.
All 4 times. I was like,
she wear white every time. She's like, I'm gonna wear a black dress.
Man,
on second
after
third.
your 3rd husband, you should be wearing off-white.
Yeah. After your 2nd husband, you should be wearing.
Yeah, but she had like big weddings. I'm like, you still haven't.
Wild.
Like her parents were like still giving her away.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, come on, man.
Like,
Then she,
no.
it was crazy. Yeah. Then she had kids by each husband. I was like, aren't you tired?
Our baby daddies.
Yeah. I'm like, aren't you tired? I'd be exhausted. That's too much.
If you gave birth, you'd really be exhausted. Yeah. It's pretty difficult for you to do it.
No, birth rate is down. China just changed their rules.
Did they? How many kids now?
You can have 3 now.
Oh.
They've had the 2-child rule since it's been 40 years.
Yeah, it's been a long
They
time.
just changed it. I think like
3 kids now?
Yeah, you can have 3.
See, in the Muslim countries, they're just like, have 8 at least, you know? They're trying to save the world over there.
That's India. That's India.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, you have 4 kids. You're not trying hard enough.
At least their kids are smart, though.
Hey, that's a rule that's been in like South Korea too. It was like I think 2-child rule.
Yeah.
And this never clicked to me until like years ago. In Minnesota, where I'm from, every Korean I ever met in Minnesota was adopted.
Interesting.
I remember all through college, out of college, every Korean I would meet, they were all adopted. They all had like white parents. And it just never clicked. And I'm like, why is all these damn Koreans adopted? All of them that I've met.
That's interesting.
Then a little, as the years went on, I found out they had they had the 2-child rule.
Wow, really? Because of that? Okay, that took a minute.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
So once they have 2,
then they have to give it up
you
for
have to give it
no
up.
abortions. I'm gonna have to look at that because
the
I wonder.
abortion or rules.
I
don't know the abortion or rules like over there, but I just literally remember like every Korean guy and girl I met, who lived in the States, they were all adopted. I just couldn't figure it out. Funny, even in the States, they put out something a few years ago. It said this is the lowest child birth rate United States have had, I think, since like 81, 83.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised. I'm like, the world has changed. Not everyone is just husbands going to work or, wife stay at home.
You don't have the traditional family anymore.
Nope. Things are fun now.
Things are fun.
Well, even a few years ago, TSA came out and said, this is the most Americans have ever traveled in history.
Yeah.
Outside the country.
Well,
I'm like, things are fun now.
Millennials are changing the world because, now it's like I won't say nobody, but a lot of people are now starting to say like, okay, it's not my goal to get married and have kids and have a family. I want a career. I want to travel. The opportunity that we have is much greater, right? There was so much peer pressure. I heard this thing the other day, this meme from a little kid, and he said, traditions are just peer pressure from dead people.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's really good.
I'm gonna have to write that.
It's like a little 5-year-old. He was like, I'm not doing this. And so.
Look, and he got this quote from when they told him to take a nap.
Probably. He's like, no. But it's so true.
I'm not taking a nap. I'm traditional.
Yeah.
I'm not traditional.
I'm not traditional. I don't believe in
I
that.
stay up until I fall asleep.
Exactly. So you should try using it. But that's the truth. Like, I think millennials started it right after the boomers. Millennials are like, we're going to do us. We're going to do whatever the hell we want to do. We're going to go travel. We're going to, explore. And now the age of people getting married. I mean, I still see it at like my age. I'm 36. My friends are getting married and people want that. I'm on the fence, right? Like, and I think there's a few people in every group that's like that, where they're just like, I just want to go travel. I want to do career. I want to do me. Yeah. And then the next generation is even more about, social justice and all these things that they're focused on that they didn't have before. Before it was like, you went to work, you got married, you kids, that was it.
That was your schedule.
Yeah.
Come home,
Done.
dinner's made,
Yeah.
you and the family eat, watch like a TV show,
You're right.
and good night. See you around this time tomorrow.
Yeah. Sounds terrible.
Yeah, even with when I think of like everyone traveling now, I'm like, it's definitely social media has definitely helped because I know people's parents like, that I talk to. Oh, Peter, I saw, man, I was on Instagram or YouTube. I was seeing shorts of like of Morocco. Oh, I didn't know it looked that nice there. And I'm like, I hear that a lot from like older generation. Like, oh, I was on YouTube or this. Man, I saw Spain. I saw this little town in Italy. I gotta go there now.
Yeah.
You know, back then, no one knew what it looked like. They didn't really research it. Now it's just in your face.
Yeah.
So now,
Can you believe like there's people who've literally never left the little tiny town of like 500 people or 30,000 people or whatever. Like they've never left the confines of like where they live.
That sounds like the South.
Yeah, the South is like that. I mean, there's a lot of like I'm from Wyoming. There's a lot of places like that in Wyoming, and it's funny because a lot of people who leave end up coming back too.
Yeah.
Like you're comfortable there, like you're used to everything. So
The podcast before this, me and my friend James were talking about that. I told him when I moved here, my first group of friends, it was like probably like 9 of us, 8 or 9. And I met them from all different places. And they were from like, I was telling him, they're all from the like East Coast. They were from like Connecticut, New York, Chicago, like Florida, Ohio. And this group, I was doing everything with them. We were taking trips. We were going to Mexico, surfing. We were doing all kind of stuff for like a good 2.5 years.
yeah,
And this is my first 2.5 years. I met them like right away. And I told James, I said, dude, two plus years after I met that group, and a lot of them didn't know each other. They knew each other through me, but some of them did know each other.
Right.
And we all like, a lot of us went to the same gym, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I told them they all left.
Did they?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I started meeting all those people in
Interesting.
like mid 2015,
Yeah.
late 2015. And I told James by 2018, they were all back home. All of them. And I told him, I was like, I sat up one day and I was like, damn, they all left. Every last one of those 8 people are back home.
Wow.
And I told them they all were only out in California like 3 years.
Yeah.
That whole group. Some of them had got here like right around the time I got here. Some, yeah, we all got here around the same time. Some were here like maybe like a year before me. They all lasted 3 years and went back home. Yeah. And James said, he said, you know why they left? You think you know why they left? And I said, yeah. I said they were all coming out here expecting to like find, date someone nice, find a man, because the group was like guys and girls.
Yeah.
I said they were all coming out here to look, probably it's beautiful people out here.
Right.
And I said they were all probably running into like the man or woman of their dreams, and they were having all this California fun and trying to settle down. And and the people they were meeting were not trying to settle down. They're like, I didn't move to San Diego and LA to be settling down. I came out here to have fun.
A lot of people are transplants here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they're like you and I. I mean, I did the same thing. Like, you get here and you're like, okay, I was confined in this small town, and now I want to come here and like enjoy life. And you're doing something every day, almost every weekend, at least, right? And so it's hard to financially keep up with that. It's hard to.
Well, I told them that too. I'm like, it's probably money.
Yeah.
They were all like good careers, doing good. And it was at one time they were all dating Californians.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They were all dating like California people. And I said, I distinctly remember one of my guys, I'm not going to say his name, he met a girl. And they were together out here for like a year. Mm-hmm. And she was like everywhere with us too. She's, now she's a part of that group, bouncing around. We're going to Vegas. We're up in LA, Mexico. And he told her like, oh, we should get an apartment together. And she was like,
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And he was like trying to get serious, and she flat out told him, so she's like, look, I'm just trying to, this is after a year. Like, he had met her parents and everything. Yeah. And she was like, look, dude, I'm just trying to keep this fun. And he just couldn't believe it. I remember he came to like me and the other guys, and he just could not believe she said that.
Wow.
He's like, yo, I had met her parents. Like, I had been to her house and had met her parents. Way up in Del Mar, so they got money.
You're right.
But she was fun as hell. But like he was trying to settle down. Him and her had took trips to like Florida and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
She was like, no. She's born and raised. She's like, no, 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 no. And they weren't young either. I think at this time we were all like probably 30. They were like 31. They were like a year or two older than me. They're like 31. I was like 29. And they were like, no. She literally was like, no, I'm just trying to have fun. And he was like, yeah. And he was like, well, and I remember he told me one day, he's like, she's not even trying to get a place together. He goes, I won't dare ask her about marriage and kids.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm not dare gonna ask this girl.
But that's so rare, I feel like.
But again, that same group I was with, because they were always at my house. It was like the same thing was with all of them. My boy, I ain't gonna say his name. He's from New York. He was dating all these girls, and we were meeting them because we were all like, hitting all these clubs and rooftops. And he just got so fed up with the women here. He's like, is anyone here trying to get serious? I mean, I never forget he said that. He goes, I'm meeting these beautiful, fun women. No one's trying to do anything, just have fun.
Where's he meeting these women?
Just out everywhere. He was just out and about, yeah.
At the bars?
At the clubs, the bars, at the gym. He was just, good looking dude in shape. He was just random. You just meet anyone anywhere out here. Yeah. And I just remember he was just so fed up after like year 3. He's like, I gotta go back home. He goes, I'm never gonna get engaged or anything if I'm living out here.
So many people do that. That's exactly, like, you could have a job, you could have a career, you could have great friends, you can have all these things. Dating is so tough. I've had friends also move out of here, especially if you're a little more conservative. This is probably not like the best place. Right? This is, the traditional mindset just isn't there. Even like friends that I have that are married are living very untraditional lives. Or either they don't want to have kids, or they're traveling a lot. They're just hanging out. They're like still dating. But
I never forget, like, and they all left, one back home. Yep. And it was funny because a lot of them, when I checked on them, I think like a year and a half after being home, a lot of them were like living with they got a crib together, about to try and get engaged. Yeah. My first neighbor when I moved here, it was so funny. I only met this dude like maybe 3 times. He was an African guy. He was African, and he was I forgot what city he was from, but he was from the East Coast. I moved in and we met like out. We literally lived next door at these townhomes. And I remember I said, "Oh, what's up?" I said, "Where you from?" And he goes, "It was somewhere in the East Coast." And I said, "Oh, how long you been out here?" And he's like, "I've been out here 2 years." He goes, I'm heading back home." He's like, "I'm actually moving out of here in like the next like week or 2." I said, "Oh man, why?" And this is like during the summer too. I was like, "Why are you leaving?" He goes, "There's no culture here." I was like, "Really?" And at this point, I think I had been here like maybe like a month, and I just couldn't believe he was heading back to the East Coast in the summertime. Yeah. Because winter's creeping up. He's like, yeah. He was so serious when he said it. He's like, I gotta go back home because there's nothing here for me. There's no culture here. He's like, it's horrible here. I was like, oh. Wow. As I'm heading to the beach.
Yeah, you're like, culture.
And then he.
No, I'm just kidding.
And 2 weeks later, I saw a moving truck outside. Yeah. And I thought in my head, I was like, oh, he's crazy. I'm like, he's got to be like a one of one. No one's leaving California.
I mean, listen, nobody comes here to find a wife or a husband.
Right.
That's not like, you're not like, you know what? I'm going to move to California and find me a husband.
Right.
Like, no one's has that goal. You're like, I want to go to California. Nope. I want the great weather. I want the beach life. I want to be by the ocean. Like, and if you have everyone in the same mindset and you're just having a great time, there's so much to do. Yeah, it's kind of hard to find somebody to settle down with, I guess.
Cause how long you been out here?
This will be almost 9 years. This will be my 9th year in June.
It's a long time. Yeah. How long were you in Wyoming? Your whole life?
Yeah, close to that.
For those of you who don't know, Seda is from Turkey.
Yes. That is true. So I was 9 when I moved to the U.S. and we moved to Wyoming. And then I was 27 or so when I moved to San Diego.
Same here. I was like 28 and 29.
Yeah.
Time goes so fast, yeah.
It's amazing. I love it here so much.
I can't go. I'm the only one left here. I'm like, I can't. I love the East Coast. Love like New York. Oh, God. I ain't been to New
Trying to
York
go back
since the pandemic.
find a
Before
wonderful
pandemic,
place.
I was in New York like 3 times a year, faithfully
Yeah, New
for
York's
like
amazing.
a good 7 years. I was in New York faithfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, like love New York. Still talk to all my people out there.
New York's great. I would have moved out there if it wasn't the cold. It's
Yeah,
too
see, that's
fucking
what I'm
cold.
saying. Like, I would love to. New York is like that's a city for me.
Yeah.
A lot of artists.
A lot going on.
A
There's
lot of artists.
tons. hmm
I can't go back to snow.
Also, the fucking public transportation is just too much. Like, I like driving my car. I'm not trying to be in the subway with
Mm-hmm.
all the people who smell terrible and takes forever to get anywhere.
Sorry,
Sorry,
New Yorkers.
Not everyone smells terrible in New York, but you know, like you've got it's a hot box, right?
Mhm.
Like inside that thing. So it's like, you know, everybody knows.
Because most people there don't have a car, and they have no. You don't need one, but they have no
New York.
intentions of buying a car.
Yeah, the subway's great. I mean,
Subway's
it gets you
insane.
places faster. But I went in December for work, and then I went.
What part of New
before
York?
that in October. I just went to Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah, we have an office in New Jersey, so I have one of my close friends lives in Manhattan.
I've
on
also
the
been to
Upper East
Jersey.
Side, so
Yeah.
it was fun. So I stayed with her, and then I went to the office a day or two. We had like some events and stuff, but I love the culture in New York. The art scene, the music. I love just the energy of like the city.
Yeah.
The plays. Every time I go, at least one play. We went to this time was fun. We went to an interactive play called Sleep No More. It's Macbeth.
I like that.
Ooh, it's inside of a haunted hotel that's like 4 or 5 stories, and they like take you up in the elevator, and they just like let people go in like different times, and then you just walk through this thing, and there's like, you know, plays basically happening like around you in different parts of the hotel.
So many plays you can go see in New York. I remember, what was that like? 2000. I think that was like 2015 or 16. This is after I'm living here. I went out to New York, to Brooklyn, to see a couple friends, and we went and saw like the Nutcracker.
Yeah. Why not?
I haven't seen that. I have not seen that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's a Midwest thing where
I
like
went
you always
to
have to go to
Aladdin.
like the live plays. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Aladdin and I went to Spider-Man once. We were like 8th row on Spider-Man. Do you remember when there was a bunch of Spider-Mans getting injured on Broadway?
No,
So-
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this was like probably 10 years ago when we went. And we were like in the 8th row right in the middle. And I was like,
Injured
oh,
how?
God.
Swinging around?
Yeah, so they, like, the way it works is they have like 10 or 15 Spider-Men just like swinging
That's
across
crazy.
the
Yeah,
screen,
that
like,
sounds
above
about
you.
right. Yeah.
And a bunch of them got injured, and they had to shut the play down.
Falling in the net.
There's no net.
Oh, that's
It's
why
just people
that's
in there.
why they're injured.
Yeah, there's no net whatsoever, so they're just swinging around. Yeah, and I was like, man, I hope Spider-Man doesn't fall on me. Because now I'm trying to go out right
I
here.
miss New York. God, like I said, that every time I go there, I'm like, how am I not from New York?
What's your favorite like place or part of New York that you like?
Love going through Soho.
Soho's
The
great.
fashion in Soho is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've only been able to buy like one shirt and one pair of jeans because
Right.
it's so expensive. But I love walking through Soho. You always meet some interesting people out there.
Yeah, Soho's cool.
That whole art scene out there. I don't know how I'm not from New York. For anybody watching right now, all this artwork you see right here, this is all mine. Well, obviously not this. But this is all mine.
Stop here. The watch looks so real.
Everybody
It looks like an image.
everybody loves that watch.
You're very talented.
Everybody loves that watch. And people don't even understand. I have a storage out here in California. These pieces you see in my storage right now, I think it's 87 different pieces.
Wow.
87 different pieces, all done in like the last maybe like 4 years.
Where do you get the inspiration?
I don't know.
Just comes to you?
Yeah, just randomly. Sometimes I'll go like months and months. I won't do one.
Yeah.
I won't do any. And then from like December until now, I think I've done 19.
Yeah. I think the monkey's my favorite.
The
still.
monkey right here.
Yeah, the monkey's my favorite. I
Yeah.
love the colors in that. And it's just like so simple, you know?
Yeah.
But also still has a lot of like a lot of like tedious parts to it. You know, it's cool.
Yeah, I've done a lot. Like, some reason, like in December, I woke up, I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling like ideas are just flowing. So, yeah, so
And
from
I'm doing paint by numbers. You know, like, it's like I did like I don't even know 10 minutes of it, and I was like, this shit is not for me. Like I can't. It doesn't look like anything, and it's too much work.
yeah, but like the watch, yeah, that was a fun one.
That's cool.
But yeah, all these I've done like
Is that pencil?
that's pencil, ink. It's a mix. Yeah, they're all mixed with different stuff. Color pencils, inks, ballpoints, gel pens. Some of these have gel pens on them.
They're cool.
They're all different. Yeah, it's so many.
This one looks like PJ.
Yeah, even in my the storage is crazy. It's so many. It's so many that's not even framed yet.
Really?
Because I told you from December till now, that's done. Yeah, 19. I still got like 10 that haven't even been framed yet. Yeah.
Right now, I need one. You have to make me one.
Yeah. Someone told me, it's so funny, like 3 people said, oh, you should draw PJ. PJ is my dog, my French bulldog, for people listening.
You should draw PJ. PJ's adorable.
Draw PJ with food hanging out of his mouth.
You don't. It's just a black blob. Is all you have to do, really.
Just splash.
Abstract. You know, he's a little chub.
He is. I should bring him down to the studio sometime, but he be running around.
Tell his story, like narrated. And PJ
Me rescuing him in Mexico.
Yeah.
Now he's spoiled, living the good life.
PJ dog.
Mhm.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I rescued him. Summer of 2020. He was only 10 weeks old, 11 weeks old. Yeah, we were down there surfing, down in Rosarita, and I saw this. It was like a mom and pop shelter, like a rescue. They had converted a house into like a shelter, and I said, "Oh, let's stop in there on the way back."
Yeah.
On the way back, we stopped in there. It was like 30 dogs running around.
Oh.
It was really nice too. They did a good job. We went in the backyard. It was turf. It was really nice. They had like 30, 35 dogs running around all over the place, like all different breeds. Huskies, corgis, pits. Yeah, just crazy. And I seen this one little black little ball. He was so tiny I didn't know what he was. I had to go into the turf where all the dogs were. I'm like, let me go see what this is. And my friend, she stayed on the balcony. I was like, let me go down here. And my friend, she stayed on the balcony. I was like, let me go down here. I was like, you coming? She's like, no, so many dogs.
She's like, I don't
Yeah.
know who.
And I went down there and I picked him up. And I was like, oh, damn. And she goes, what is it? And I said, it's a little Frenchie. So I went to the people who were running it. It was like grandparents. They were like 60s, late 60s. I said, is this a family dog? And she goes, no. She goes, he's someone brought him in, I think like a week or 2 ago. And she goes, they found him wandering around like in the alley looking for food and stuff. Keep in mind, he's like the size of like an iPhone. I said, I'll take him. And all the dogs there are free.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I donated $500 to the shelter. And they had like his first little shots done and everything. They had like a little book. It was this tiny little book with like little barcodes. And yeah, they were like, yeah, we have his first couple shots done already. And he had no collar. He had no leash. He had nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah,
he had nothing. They just had a little kennel for him. Yeah, and I brought him. I put the kennel in the trunk, and I just put him on the back seat. And we were crossed him back over. The kennel was in the back with like the surfboards. And the guy goes, "Did you get that dog from here?" I go, "Yeah," because he's just on the back. He's just on the seat in the back.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Do you have any papers on him?" And I hand him this little book. It's all in Spanish, so I can't even read it. And he just looks at like 2 pages, like, yeah, all right, I don't got time for this.
He's like, whatever.
Yeah, we crossed back over. We went to Petco, and they actually were able to scan the barcode and look him up in the database.
Oh, that's cool.
The lady goes, yeah, that's him. Yeah, he didn't have a name yet. They named him Gordo, like fat.
What's PJ stand for?
Pierre Jr. Yeah.
I love that. I knew the answer.
Yeah, but and that was his story. A lot of people don't even know. A lot of people don't know I rescued him. I'm like, I am not paying $4,000 for a Frenchie.
Why did you name him Pierre
When I was gonna name him, I was like, let me give him something simple, you know, because people be giving their pets like some of the dumbest names. It's just Mr. Andrews. Like
my cat's name.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it.
What is it?
It's Teppanyaki Blue Biscuits.
See what I'm talking about, people? Y'all see what I'm talking about?
Baby T for short, okay? But cool name.
Yeah. What does it mean?
So it's I found him at Stagecoach when I went to the festival.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that place.
Yeah, and it was like in the desert, and he was like dirty. He was in bad shape, and we were like, we can't leave this cat out here. Like it's 105 degrees. So we took him in our hotel and like started feeding him. Took him to the vet, cleaned him up, like did all that. And I was like, worst case, we'll bring him back and like give him to somebody. So I hit up one of my friends and I was like, hey, I found this cat. I don't know if I can keep it, but will you take it if I can't? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. Cool. And so somebody said, like, I was like, oh, what are we going to name this cat? Like, we don't know. We kept calling him Blue because he has blue eyes. And I was like, no, that's not cool. That's not good enough. And somebody said, whoever was your favorite artist from the day that you found him at the festival, you should name him after that. And my friend kept calling Mitchell Tenpenny Teppanyaki the whole day. She was like, I really want to go see Mitchell Teppanyaki. And we're like, it's Tenpenny. She was like, yeah. And she just kept repeating it. And I was like, we have to call him Teppanyaki. Like, that's just what it is, right? And then he kept making biscuits. So we were like, Teppanyaki Blue Biscuits. You just call him whatever you want. Biscuits? The cat. The cat was making biscuits. You don't know what that is. No. You're a dog person. When they're happy and they're like purring, they do this thing with their hands where they're like making biscuits is what we call it. They're like kneading.
Yeah, that's funny.
His name is Teppanyaki.
PJ does that when he's making his bed.
Yeah, something similar
same
to that.
thing.
But he like scratches, right? Cats don't do that. They just like, literally, they just push like this. It's the weirdest thing ever.
I actually have seen that. Yeah.
Pretty adorable.
But no, he gave him a little simple name, something you understand. And he's been living good ever since. He's at these beaches. He's at these dog beaches swimming around.
I remember he was like, because I think when we met, he was like 3 months old.
He was tiny.
Like, he was really small.
And look at him now.
Yeah, he's
just jacked.
Yeah. Okay.
Dude, he's for a Frenchie. They're usually more chubby. He's stocky.
Yeah, he's.
Because he's run. I run him all the time. Yeah, he's in. Everybody sees him. They're like, even other Frenchie owners here. They're like, dude, he's in way better shape than my dog. I'm like, because this little dude runs like a mile.
You're at home, like you don't sit at home all day, with him. Yeah. He's like, you're working in the office and he's home for 10 hours.
Yeah, but like even then, I've always been bringing him out. He'll run like a mile.
That's awesome.
Just fine. And he's all.
How's his breathing though?
Perfect, because he's in shape.
That's fair.
There's no breathing problems, and he only eats twice a day. He's good.
Yeah. Living the life, the dream.
My nightmare. But people tuning in, again, this is the podcast, All Ears. The stories are on House of Remember. So please check it out.
Check it out.
Seda, thank you for coming on. Until we meet again.
Thanks for having me.
Always.